Today, we're going to journey back to an ancient battlefield. Not to look at war, but to understand one of the most profound internal struggles ever recorded, the great delusion of the warrior Arjuna. We're going to explore what this ancient story can teach us about our own moments of crisis. You know that feeling, right? That moment where you just freeze, where the path forward is so foggy with doubt and fear that you can't even take a single step. Well, this very human feeling of paralysis, it's the heart of Arjuna's story, a dilemma that kicks off the entire Bhagavad Gita. So let's paint the picture here. Arjuna is, without a doubt, one of the greatest warriors of his time. He's about to fight in a righteous war, a war for justice. He's supposed to be the hero leading the charge. But right at that critical moment, something inside him just shatters. Can you just imagine that scene? Two colossal armies are poised, ready to fight. The war horns have sounded. The air is thick with tension. And then Arjuna, the key warrior for his side, suddenly throws down his legendary bow and arrows and just collapses in his chariot, completely overwhelmed. He says this to his guide and charioteer, Lord Krishna, and you can hear in his words the sheer depth of his despair. This isn't just a case of pre-battle nerves. No, this is a full-blown existential crisis. He's questioning everything, the meaning of victory, of power, even the point of life itself. So what could cause such a powerful warrior to break down like this? Well, he looked across that battlefield, and he didn't see an anonymous enemy. He saw his family. He saw his own teacher, the man who taught him everything he knew about archery. He saw his beloved grandfather, his uncles, his cousins, even sons and grandsons fighting on the other side. His enemy was his own blood. And this gets us to the very heart of the matter. Arjuna's suffering wasn't just about the violence of war. It was coming from a much, much deeper place, a state that the Gita calls Moha, delusion. So let's break down what that really means.
Moha is this incredibly powerful sense of attachment. It's the confusion that happens when we mistake our temporary roles and relationships, like being a son, a student, a friend, for who we truly are. You can almost think of it as a fog that rolls in, where our emotional attachments completely cloud our judgment. For Arjuna, the thought, "that is my grandsire," completely overwhelmed his duty as a warrior fighting for justice.
Now this is so important. Krishna doesn't look at Arjuna and see a coward. He sees a good man who's trapped by his own love, by his own attachments. Arjuna's delusion comes from a compassionate heart, and that's what makes his struggle so incredibly human, so relatable. He's paralyzed simply because he's identifying with these temporary, bodily relationships. So, how does Krishna start to guide him out of this mess? Well, he begins by completely reframing Arjuna's whole understanding of reality. He introduces this radical idea, a clear line between the temporary body and the eternal self. Krishna's first teaching is a big one. He says, look, on one hand, you have the physical body. It's temporary. It's born, it changes, and it dies. But on the other hand, you have the eternal self, the Atman, which was never born and will never, ever die. Krishna tells Arjuna, you're grieving for something that is perishable by its very nature, while completely ignoring that which is imperishable. And this verse is really the foundation for that whole teaching. Krishna is basically saying that the body, because it's always changing and temporary, is in a sense unreal. But the self, the pure consciousness within, that is real, because it is eternal, it never stops being. And the wise, he says, they understand this difference, and so they aren't overcome by grief. He uses this beautiful, simple analogy. He says, think about it. Within this one life, the soul passes through childhood, youth, and old age, all in the same body. In the same way, the soul simply passes into another body at the time of death. So from this higher perspective, death isn't some final end, it's just a transition. Arjuna cannot kill the eternal self of his grandfather or his teacher, but Arjuna's problem isn't just about grief. It's also a deep moral crisis. He is terrified of the karmic consequences, the sin, of killing his own family. So let's see how Krishna tackles this fear. And this is a perfectly legitimate concern, isn't it? He genuinely believes that fighting this war will lead him down a dark path of sin and suffering. He's worried about the spiritual price he's going to have to pay for his actions. And here, Krishna introduces a game-changing idea. You can't escape action. Even the choice to do nothing, well, that's an action too, and it has its own consequences. Arjuna thinks he can avoid sin by just walking away, but Krishna shows him that abandoning his duty is in itself a sinful act. Krishna really lays it all out for him. He says, if you walk away now, you'll be abandoning your sacred duty. You will still incur sin. You'll lose your reputation as a great warrior, and everyone will say you ran away in fear. And that kind of dishonor, Krishna says, is a fate far worse than death for a man like you. Okay, so if acting seems wrong, and not acting also seems wrong, what's the way out of this trap? Well, Krishna now reveals a totally revolutionary path forward, a way to act in the world without getting tangled up in the results of those actions. And the key to this whole path is the concept of Dharma. Now, Dharma isn't just some generic list of rules. It's your specific righteous duty based on who you are and the situation you are in. For Arjuna, as a warrior, a kshatriya, in a war for justice, his Dharma is to fight. And this is the master key right here. The real problem isn't the action of fighting, it's the attachment to the fruits of that action, the craving for victory, the fear of defeat, the grief over losing loved ones. Krishna tells him, perform your duty for duty's sake alone, and let go of your attachment to the results, whatever they may be. So, Krishna gives Arjuna this crystal clear 3-step framework. Step 1, know who you really are. Ground yourself in the truth of your immortal self. Step 2, recognize your Dharma. What is your unique duty right here, right now? And step 3, act without attachment. Do what you have to do with full commitment, but without being chained to the outcome. This is the path from paralysis to purpose. And you can see how this mental shift changes absolutely everything. Suddenly, the battle isn't a personal grudge match against his relatives anymore. It becomes an impersonal act of duty, a sacred offering for the sake of a greater good. The very delusion that was causing his paralysis, his deep attachment, is transformed into the very thing that sets him free. And this ancient wisdom really brings us to a powerful personal question. Arjuna's battlefield had armies and chariots, but his real struggle was inside. So as you move through your life, it's worth asking, what is the true battlefield you face today? What attachments are causing you to freeze? And what is the selfless duty that can set you free?